or hatched, in early 1861 in a nest high in a tree near the community of Park Falls, Wisconsin, which is where Price, Iron, and Ashland counties come together. There are conflicting stories about the circumstances by which he came into human hands, but it's agreed that a member of the Lac du Flambeau band of Ojibwe acquired the young eaglet in early 1861. Now, years later, that Ojibwe man was asked to point out where he found the eagle, and this map reflects his memory of that spot. So I do not think this map was drawn to scale, but you can kind of see Eau Claire, and you can see the Chippewa River and Ashland, and that's where he said he found Old Abe. Soon after he was found and adopted, the Ojibwe man traded the young eaglet to Dan and Margaret McCann of Jim Falls, Wisconsin, in exchange for a bushel of corn. The McCanns kept the young eagle as a pet and raised him in this home in rural Wisconsin. When the Civil War began and communities around Wisconsin raised companies to send to war, McCann thought to offer the eagle as a mascot to the men from nearby Chippewa Falls as they gathered in the early summer of 1861. Apparently, the men from Chippewa Falls declined, though. Undeterred, McCann continued on to Eau Claire and offered the bird to those men. The new recruits, who called themselves the Eau Claire Badgers, jumped at the chance, and they raised $2.50 to buy the eagle from McCann. This is a flag from our collection. It's the reverse side of a flag that the citizens of Eau Claire made for their men, for the Eau Claire Badgers. So during the men's journey from Eau Claire to Camp Randall and Madison, the group changed their name to the Eau Claire Eagles, and they named their new mascot Old Abe after President Abraham Lincoln. Once they arrived in Madison, the Eau Claire Eagles became Company C of the 8th Wisconsin Infantry Regiment. And this is the upper side of the same flag that shows their new identification with the eagle. The men of Company C and Old Abe trained at Camp Randall for about a month, and in early October 1861 they left Madison by train. They journeyed through Chicago to St. Louis, where they paraded through the city. By this time, Old Abe was generally transported on a wooden shield to which he was tied with a leather cord, and you can see that shield here. You can even kind of see the shadow of the cord below him. Southern sympathizers in St. Louis jeered and taunted the men in the bird, and they called Old Abe a wild goose and a Yankee crow. Old Abe broke free of his tether in the excitement, but was found and returned to the regiment later that day. I do want to point out here that during almost the entirety of the Civil War, Old Abe had a brown head. While we think of bald eagles as having white heads, and certainly most of the photos that you see of Old Abe show him with a white head, this was not the case for early in his life. Bald eagles' head feathers turn white at about 3 or 4 years of age. This is one of the few photographs of Old Abe before his head turned white. I just want to point this out because some of the photos that I'm going to be using while I talk about the Civil War will show him with a white head, but for the most part he did not. Abe and the 8th Wisconsin spent their first few months of active duty marching around Missouri in search of Confederates and serving garrison duty at a number of towns. With no pitched battles, they spent a lot of time in camp, where Old Abe began to show a value that would last throughout his time with the 8th Wisconsin.